Our initial guest today is Michael Walter, who is seeking the Republican nomination to run for mayor. Mr. Walter, good to see you again. Nice to have you with us today.
Well, thank you for having me here.
A little bit about, and we'll start out the same as we do with all the candidates, a little bit about your background. Some people will know you, some people will not. Some people may be scratching their head and saying, well, wants to be mayor, isn't he already on council? Answer is yes, right?
Yes, I am on council. I'm Director of Accounts and Finance. Mm-hmm. A little bit about my background and everything. I've lived in Butler almost all my life. I went to school here. I graduated from Butler High. Attended community college. I worked at AK Steel, Armco, and then AK Steel. I retired from there. I took an early retirement from there in 2000. Excuse me. When I was at AK, I worked in the continuous casting department of the melt shop. They had a quality program down there when I was there called Q+. I was chairman of the continuous casting quality plus program. After I retired from AK, I went to work for Mannheim, Pittsburgh, and I worked there for 10 years, and I retired from there, and retired from there about the same time my wife retired, and that worked well. Mm-hmm. I currently work a part-time job, and then I ran for city council a couple years ago, and I won or lost, depending on how you look at it.
So city council is a 4-year term,
yes,
as is mayor.
Yes, it is.
So even though you're a member of city council and still have 2 more years to go, you can run for mayor, obviously. Without having to resign your seat on council.
Yes, I can do that. And now if I do win for mayor, or if I do win the mayor's office, which I feel confident that I will, I would have to resign my seat in city council, and we would appoint somebody to fill in that seat.
I always ask candidates, and I'll do this for all of them that we talk to over the next week, what you see as key issues for the person who will be mayor of the city of Butler starting after the fall election. It could be 1 or 2 or several issues. What do you see as key?
I think the biggest problem, and from talking to people, our biggest problem is the opioid epidemic right now. That is a huge social problem. It affects everything. The bad publicity that Butler and the greater Butler area received in the past couple months has been terrible. Yeah, I mean, it really has been, and we really have to get a good handle on that. And what we need to do, in my opinion, is to build relationships with our neighboring townships, build a better relationship with the county, their drug task force. I went to the drug crisis seminar last week. They had some great ideas there. We need to communicate with other municipalities to see what works with them. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to see what other people are doing, and maybe we can adapt it to our community to make it work.
Yeah, sometimes Butler City, since Butler City and Butler County have the same name, sometimes people from Pittsburgh or surrounding areas kind of take it all as one, you know. We have had, I think, 4 homicides in recent weeks, directly or indirectly related to the drug problem, but not all of them have been in the city. I think only 1 was, but we get lumped in, don't we?
Yes, we do, and that's why I referred to it as the greater Butler area. I never used that before, but that describes it, you know. There was actually only 1 murder in Butler, with only 1. There should be none. And we have to try and get a handle on this.
What other, what else do you see as a major issue that the mayor will face?
There are 2 big issues that I see coming up after that. One is the budgetary problem we are having right now. We have to really get our budget under control. I've been working on that since I took office. Was a real eye-opener when my 2nd month in office, we ran out of money. You know, before taxes came in, there was just no money. And we solved that, and we tightened our belts quite a bit, and we ended up with a surplus. Even the auditors thought we'd run out of money in November, but we did make it through the year. Everybody got paid. We bought everything we needed, and we ended up with a small surplus. This year is not much better, you know, but it's coming along. You know, we will survive by working together.
It's an issue that a lot of smaller cities and other towns too are facing. I think small cities in particular.
A lot of small cities, a lot of cities, every place has this problem. Your tax base is static or diminishing, or is static. Costs go up. Our number one cost, obviously, is our employee costs. Of course, that's what it is everywhere. You know, that's like business 101.
And they're fixed. It's labor contracts.
Yeah, and you can reduce that, but it's still not going to solve the total expenditures. We have to look at new and creative ways to save money.
The city of Butler has downsized its city, the number of people on the city payroll over the years as the population has gone down. One example, I can remember when I was a kid, there were a lot more city police officers than there are now, but it was different then. You know, there was a city police officer on every corner to help with traffic, for one thing.
Yes.
The need isn't there now, and so the city has reduced, as a fiscal move, reduced the number. Are you satisfied with the number of police and firefighters that we have now?
Yes, I am. The police department has a retention problem with policemen right now. We've lost 10 officers for one reason or another in the past 18, 19 months, and the city cannot afford to be a training police force. You know, we can't train them and then they move on. You know, we just can't afford that. We need to retain the officers for a longer period of time. What we need to do is, you go to other communities, and one of the things I see when I travel around is I see a police presence on Main Street, and it doesn't have to be all the time. It doesn't have to be 24/7. It just has to be during the busy times, you know, to make it comfortable for people to feel safe when they walk the streets. You look at the Main Street of Butler, compared to a lot of towns, we don't have as many vacant storefronts as a lot of places. Some places have a lot, and
Drive through Newcastle if you don't believe.
Yes. Some places have a lot, you know, and we have a lot of storefronts there, a lot of small businesses opening, which is great. You know, it's one of the things the city needs. But we also would like, I think we should have a police presence on Main Street, afternoon, early evening, late evening, whatever, to get people out. I would like to see the Penn Theater come vibrant again. A lot of communities, that's popular now, and a lot of communities do this. You could go to Warren, you could go to Zillionople, you can go to Greensburg. You look, a lot of communities are revitalizing the old theaters into various types of performing arts centers to draw people in. Tonight there's currently something at the Arts Center, and if the Penn Theater on one end is open, you could have two things going on there, and with the restaurants on Main Street and the two breweries, that could be a very viable thing for the getting Main Street, bringing it back to life.
We have been fortunate to revitalize almost an entire block right in the middle of the city with a new pharmacy, a Rite Aid, that's been open about a year, I guess a year and a half now. A new hotel is about to open. A new tier parking garage has just opened within the past month or so. Can the city capitalize on that? Can the city piggyback on that?
I hope so. You know, there's not...
Parking should help, for one thing. It's
Yeah.
right in the middle of town.
Yeah, parking would help, although I will say this, the tier garage is a lot of that's leased parking for the hotel and such. Parking is another issue that people have mentioned to me, a lot of business owners have mentioned. One solution, and I'm willing to hear any other solutions people come up with, is if we put the meters back on Main Street, not so much for revenue, but actually to get people moving, you know. And you could go and sell the business owners, and this was suggested to me by some business owners in town, to sell them tokens at 50 cents or a quarter on the dollar. They could give it to their customers, the tokens, and as a benefit, you know, and most business owners would be glad to do that just so they could get customers. And that's one suggestion I've heard, and I like it. I've seen that work in other communities, and it seems to work well for them.
So these tokens would work in the meters?
Yes, they would. And then when we collect it, they'd filter out the tokens and sell them back to the business owners.
Do people come up to you with suggestions and issues when they know you're running for mayor?
Oh, constantly. I hear so many things. When I'm knocking on doors, when I get my petition signed, and even now when I'm out visiting people, people come up with ideas. I do write them down, not necessarily at that time, but when I get home, I write them down. I have a legal pad that I write all these ideas down, and there's some really good ideas out there. You know, I don't know how viable some of them are. I have to give it some thought, but there are a tremendous number of creative people in Butler with great ideas.
Our time begins to run short. We purposefully are doing these 15-minute interviews. We feel it's part of our mission to help introduce candidates to the public, but at the same time, you know, we have to limit the time because there's a lot of people. We will give Michael Walter a minute or so here to wrap up. I just want to refresh people's memories, or some people just joining us. We're chatting with 3 political candidates today. They're all running for office in the city in the May primary. And our first candidate is current Councilman Michael Walter. So if you could take just a minute and kind of wrap up, why do you think people should consider, well, this would be, why should Republicans consider voting for you? Because you're a candidate in the Republican primary next month. Why should they think about voting for you?
Well, my goal is to get the community working together, you know, through a teamwork thing, working with the unions, working with employees, working with business owners, working with residents, working with surrounding communities to make Butler, the greater Butler area also, a more vibrant place. We're all in this together. We have to work together on this. I mean, I can come up with ideas, but they might not be the best ideas. Somebody else might have a better idea, and if they have a better idea, I'm going to jump on board with that. And I'll give credit to wherever credit goes, but if it's a good idea, I will support it. I would like to say, next thing, most important thing, go out and vote. I can't say that often enough. Go out and vote. And you can find me on Facebook on Mike Walter for Mayor, and I have a website, MikeWalterForMayor.com. Please check them out. There'll be more stuff on them periodically.
Thanks, Mike. I've been referring to Mike as Michael, and that's only because I think that's the way it appears on the ballot.
Yes,
Michael Walter.
I'm number 1 on the ballot.
So I don't want anybody to be confused by me being either too familiar or too formal. Thanks, Mike. Good to talk to you today.
Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.